Brian Perry is the head of seeds and traits for BASF. His team recently launched the first SCN trait in more than 60 years. I wanted to chat with Brian to get his perspective on developing new traits for the market. We wanted to talk about the challenges and the opportunities because they are numerous. Brian, thanks so much for joining us here at Asta Field Crop Seed Convention. We're really happy to get you into the chair. Are you having a good conference so far?
Absolutely, Amy. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, I'm really excited to get your perspective on some of these things today.
Yeah, excited to have the conversation with you.
Yeah, let's just jump right in then.
Okay.
So with companies investing like significant portions of budget in research and development, what areas do you think the seed industry needs to prioritize to address any emerging agricultural challenges?
Yeah, I think I appreciate that being the first question, right? I think it's one of the best when you think about investments into the future. If you're an R&D based company like a BASF or like a lot of the companies here, if you quit innovating, then basically you wither up and disappear. I look at a couple areas. One, I would look at the traditional focus areas. When you think about seeds and traits, you think about new traits to help control weed resistance, pest resistance, disease resistance, because Mother Nature has continued to evolve. We've also seen chemistries come into question. So are we able to continue to rely on some of the chemistries we have in the market? So I think maintaining that R&D engine around herbicides, insecticides, all those different trait packages will be really critical for the future. But then if I think outside the box, you look at other trends, you think about the environment, you think about the irregularity, hotter, drier. Are we able to invest dollars in breeding to identify varieties or hybrids that are more tolerant to heat stress or go prolonged periods without rainfall? Another one that's been on my mind is you think about the opportunity with renewable biofuels. You think about, the sustainable aviation fuel. You've got oil crops, soybeans an oil crop, cotton, canola. What can you do to innovate and make those even better? And one area, for example, BASF's looking at is canola. We're looking at, how do we expand that footprint of where it can be grown further south where it is hotter and drier?
Yeah, we're really having to respond a lot more to extreme weather.
I remember as a kid growing up on a farm, it always seemed like, the weather, what is normal. And it just seems like that pace has continued to go on and on. But definitely from a moisture standpoint, it just seems like the extremes have been greater. It's hard to argue with, just adjusting and adapting. And I think that's the opportunity that we have in agriculture. We can be part of the solution. We can continue to innovate and look at different crops or existing crops that are just able to handle those environmental conditions we're facing today.
Is there also thought of how to make these things affordable for the growers as well? I mean, with all these years and years of R&D, that can get expensive.
100%, right? I would say that, you have to have a product that a grower then can look at and say it generates a positive ROI on my farm. If it's going to have a little bit of an incremental cost, is that cost justified with the end return? I think the other part, as you mentioned, it's a really long timeline to invest in R&D. That's why companies like BASF and others are committed to it. You have to be committed to it. We invest about 10% of every dollar into basic R&D, knowing that a lot of those dollars won't ever see the light of day. So it's just that commitment that you also have to have to it so that you can bring something that growers are willing to pay for. And it has that price point that is within scope of what they're willing to pay.
You mentioned your crystal ball earlier. So if you could look into that crystal ball over the next 10 years, what kind of traits do you think the industry is demanding that need to be developed?
Yeah, that's looking into the crystal ball. I would say today, a little shorter term, but it does fit your 10-year horizon. We're getting ready to launch a new trait to control soybean cyst nematodes. It's a transgenic trait. It's first ever GM trait to control that pest. But if I look outwards at 10 years, why does that matter? Well, today, the current trait offerings are starting to break down the native traits. So you see, here's an example where we've had weed resistance problems. Now we've got pest resistance problems with nematodes. And that'll be a big problem as we get 10 years down the road. So I think there'll be more examples of things like nematodes where, we have those gaps and growers need solutions. I continue to see weed resistance evolve, Palmer pigweed, Palmer amaranth. You see those trends. But as I mentioned earlier, what else could be new? In the future, we really don't have disease trait stacks or GM disease solutions in the market. As Mother Nature evolves there, could we expect that there would be needs? If you go to South America, they would probably be very happy to have a trait that would control, Asian soybean rust. These are areas where we're looking at investing and innovating, thinking about the future. And then, as I mentioned, what else is there to help with plant architecture, how tall a plant is, how much moisture does it need to grow in a world where rainfall can seem to be a little bit more of a precious commodity.
So beyond yield and pest resistance, then, what opportunities does the seed industry have to create traits that benefit broader ecosystems?
Yeah, you think about the easy ones are the ones that I hit on first, right? So hit on the easy ones right out of the gate. But I think about traits that help with harvestability. You think about efficiency. So again, growers want to be efficient with their time getting across acres. And I've hit on it a little bit, but I do really believe that when we think about renewable biofuels, heck, you look at what role corn plays in ethanol production today. I think that there's an opportunity to have traits that are even more efficient in that space. I also think for just the general consumer. So one of the challenges we have in agriculture is that you think about a genetically modified trait. Some would look at that and be afraid, right? There's been a lot of talk about GMO or non-GMO. But when we can start bringing out things that directly benefit someone at a grocery store, I believe you'll start getting greater adoption. And a small example, just on the breeding world, if I look at our canola business, we have our InVigor health hybrids. They focus on high oleic, the healthy oil content when you start getting into these omega-3s and a whole bunch of things I won't pretend to be the expert on. But you can go to a grocery store and you can buy canola oil and you can start looking for these options that are healthier for you. And I think that's an opportunity when you think about future traits that we could continue to evolve in addition to what I mentioned on biofuels and ways that we can help.